Welcome to Minions and Misfits, the off-kilter, family-friendly, actual play TTRPG podcast, where instead of playing your typical heroes, we've been playing the town of Pearlsfield. And today, it's our Epilogue chapter. As always, I am joined by my particularly ponderous, I gotta think of these ahead of time, y'all. But it's too late.
We're definitely particularly ponderous since we spent like 30 minutes before talking, we're doing this episode about various things.
Well, there's Dylan.
Hello, it's me. Again, still here.
And then there's Cam.
Hello. Is it me you're looking for?
And there's Sam.
Closing time. Because this is the end.
Welcome to our Broadway episode.
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy, we're a mess, but you know what? It's gonna be a good chapter. Let's dive right on in.
Sploosh.
To the epilogue. Epilogue. The Treasure of Pearlsfield. Alright guys. So, when we last left off, Schmazos, the dragon,
Became a dragon.
the red dragon, turns out, had been trying to murder all of you. And was defeated
casual.
by the power of social pressure.
Oh, is that the lesson
And
we
also
learned?
Father Phineas.
By the people coming together and holding the powerful accountable.
And Father Phineas.
And Father Phineas's crazy magic, and Tiana Leapfrog's glove smacks. Did a lot of damage too.
And also maybe my old babysitter's sword.
Great sword. Yeah, he was a little roughed up. So let's discuss what happens after. Because that was the only big thing that happened last chapter.
That's it, nothing else.
Yeah,
Nothing
nothing.
else big happened. Not a reunion between two now lovers. Not at all.
Yeah.
Or siblings.
They broke
or
up like
anything,
2 days
or,
later. Like, it just didn't work out.
No.
So what did things...
The saddest epilogue.
What did things look like after that?
How far forward are we jumping?
That was my question. Yeah.
As forward as you want to be. We'll do some little scenes of that day, if there's still some things you want to see happen. Or we'll move into the future.
Future!
Yeah, I think future.
I guess the next logical jump forward would be to the wedding,
Haha!
Yeah, it'd be like a solid
which is
a year later. Basically a year to the day.
Okay, so we're going to discuss the year first.
I like it.
Before we get to that wedding.
Yeah, what happens in that year? Ooh.
So, Ephraim and Georgiana's mother is in town.
Georgia.
Georgia, thank you. I know my character's name. I'm very epic right now. So, Mrs. Dustson is in town. The very cursed Mrs. Dustson.
The extremely shadow cursed.
Extremely shadow cursed. At some point, you all find yourselves sitting down in the chapel. It is unnerving to be around her. It just feels like you feel tingles up your spine, cold sweat on your brow.
Like someone who didn't apply deodorant.
Just like talking to the mother.
Worse, it smells like
yeah,
death.
I was gonna say, and yet still better than being in a room with
Mumsy.
Mrs. with Mumsy.
1000%. She is an incredibly pleasant and lighthearted woman. And I imagine, does Ephraim seem a little different when he's around her too?
Oh yeah, much less sort of
Schemy.
yeah. Well, he's been like that since like the last couple of days before the showdown with Schmazos, but even more so than then, he's like lightened up.
Well, his arch enemy is gone, and he is with family, so I imagine a less grumpy and slightly less conniving.
I have a feeling he looks more at peace.
Yeah, he's been in Pearlsfield for, I don't know how long the course of this story has been. A month, 2 months.
Feels like a couple months.
A couple months.
And this, like, just since their mother has been in town is the first time that Freddie or Niles have heard him laugh in the entire time that they've known him.
It scared Niles a little bit when he first heard it. Pretty unnerving.
Maybe a little extra because his mother's laugh, which she tried to kind of suppress after she really started. It started as a and she tried to bring it back down. Her voice is a little messed up.
He instinctively blessed in her direction. It was kind of not a great day.
It helped a little bit.
Oh, good.
It helped calm the laugh down. Father Phineas, it took, I think, at least a month, maybe a couple, to fully remove the curse. But after each session, daily session of curse removal with Father Phineas, her voice became more and more, natural sounding. The smell and the uneasiness faded away. And she also...
Curse removal with Father Phineas sounds like my new favorite televangelist show.
Oh, man. But it's actually real.
Ooh, can I spend a resolve token?
Yeah.
We have those in the epilogue? Oh, shoot.
I'm going to spend a resolve token to say that because it's such a heavy curse, because in the D&D world, curses are actually pretty easy to get rid of unless they're super serious. And I think it would be interesting if it took like the last of Father Phineas's power to undo the curse.
Ooh. I do like this. Yeah.
I like that.
And then he can fully pass the mantle on.
To the raccoon.
Yeah, not to our boy.
Not to Niles.
I recognize now it sounds a little bit insidious when I say it, because I don't want him to die, but I feel like it'd be nice and poetic.
We didn't say he'd be dying. We just said he's out of magic juice.
Oh, I was thinking like that last scene with Yoda where it's just like he disappears and there's like a little hat left.
I think what it looks like, I think with this resolve token, does it take a lot less time? Because it uses up so much power?
I say like, over the course of a week, it's able to be done.
Okay.
But like Father Phineas, who's already kind of old and wrinkly, gets like progressively worse, but he's like a champ through it all. Like he never, and like even though Niles is probably like babying him, he's probably actually like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah, and I
There's
think
work to be done.
we see him get like more peaceful, but also more serious. And the final ritual, he raises his copy.
He's walked into the room
holy text.
He's walked into the room by the raccoon.
Wheels him in a little wheelchair.
Oh,
Yes.
And he raises his holy book, and as he recites the incantation, it crumbles away. Little bits and pieces of paper and leather turn to dust and float away. And at last...
I was going to say, it's like he wheels him in carrying a pew Bible, like one of those big pew Bible, or pulpit Bibles. And he like holds it up and he starts reciting, and he's just like shrinking and shrinking until he can't hold the book up anymore.
He does look smaller in his robes, but he looks very happy. And Mrs. Dustson reaches up a hand and slowly removes the veil from her face, and then the gloves from her hands, and she is very fair right now. Her skin has not seen sunlight in a while, but she has these bright... What color eyes does Ephraim
Can
have?
she just straight up be Joan Rivers?
I don't know who this actress is.
Every time we bring up anybody.
I don't know any actors or actresses.
Oh, in my mind, she's played by the late, great Joan Rivers.
But what color Ephraim's eyes?
I think I said Ephraim's eyes were green.
That's what I felt like. I knew they were green in my heart, and her eyes are too. She has just a natural, almost mischievous sparkle to them, and long black hair that reminds you of Georgiana's, and just a very bright, pleasant smile.
Ow.
And Georgia wraps her up in a hug.
And Ephraim wraps them both up in a hug.
And so do
Freddie starts tearing up.
the two kids that you've been getting to know over the last the last month or week or so. The two youngest siblings.
Oh, snap.
Oh, I was like, that's really soon to have kids. Never mind.
No, the last of the Dustson /
Yes.
the
How old
rest
are
of them
they?
have the Dustson name. I think they're probably like 10 and
They're all
8.
Ephraim's half siblings.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they're not like flippity bitty bitty go go. That's not the last name. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
different
goodness.
father.
That's Ephraim's name.
Okay.
Ephraim has a different father than the rest of them.
Yeah, I think these youngest two might even also have a different father. There's been a lot of unfortunate things that have happened to Mama's husbands.
Various curses and such, you know.
Bad things.
Curses. Sundry curses.
Gosh, I need to...
How does Father Phineas look, just kind of sitting down?
Like a little raisin. I think about...
Like one of those shrunken heads.
if you've seen Howl's Moving Castle...
Yes.
Spoilers for Howl's Moving Castle. There's a I'll make it vague. There's a character who
I already know who you're
gets
talking
her
about. Yep.
magic removed, and she goes from being like this powerful figure to like a little old lady. And he went from being a little old gnome to an even littler old gnome.
Little bean.
He's
Just a
very
wee
delicate
one.
at this point.
I don't think he can walk anymore.
No, I think he's basically
I do love
bedridden after
the
this.
story of seeing Father Phineas like, oh yeah, this is why he was in charge. Like, he is extremely competent, turns out. Like,
And now he looks extremely content.
mhm.
And over the months that follow, there are many late nights spent in Ephraim's sitting room having late night conversations with Mrs. Dustin, Ephraim, and Georgia, and I assume also the Worthington boys.
I think sometimes
it-
I think Niles is honestly like with Father's deteriorating state, he's probably like kind of splitting his time between the two.
Yeah, I think Freddie definitely spends some time there. It takes him a little bit to get used to seeing Georgia as Georgia, but then he's just enjoying having real friends around.
Was there any weirdness with your brother starting to date your fiance like
No,
a week
because
after?
he almost viewed them as two different people with Georgia and Georgiana.
Okay.
That's how that worked. So he's like, I was engaged to Georgiana. This is a real person, Georgia.
Yeah.
I imagine it was like pretty. I don't know. It sounded like it was more of a business thing than anything. So was there a whole lot of?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, not really, no.
Oh, okay.
On either of our end. Like,
Speaking of business, unless you had more thoughts there, Sam.
I imagine that conversation between like Freddie and Niles. Like Niles had cleared out a whole afternoon.
that was just so much more nervous to talk about it.
He was like, so by the way, me and Georgia are courting.
No, I saw the sparks. Like, that's fantastic.
Oh, and you're emotionally and spiritually okay with that?
No, this was a business marriage. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
I've got more cheese mines lined up. We're good.
that's Gouda.
And they laugh and hug.
But seriously, no more cheese mines. Yeah, Ephraim sort of, in these conversations, is just kind of laying out all the details of, like, their family history and what's been going on, and then sort of, I guess, explaining to everybody, Freddie, Georgia, and Niles, like, what changed over the course of their time in Pearlsfield.
What does Freddie do? What does Ephraim do with Pierre, who's still in the house?
I think Pierre just leaves.
I think he had...
Just like woke up one day and all the stuff's gone.
Yeah, Pierre probably just vamoosed in the middle of the night, but Radigan is still there.
Stole
Oh yeah,
spoons.
Radigan is Team Ephraim forever. You keep your
Radigan
your
is his familiar.
Yeah. But before I remembered the string I wanted to tug on. So Mumsy, when do you tell her about the courtship?
That's the one you really should be worried about.
Oh. Oh. I
And
hadn't
are you
thought
by
about
he
it.
cleared-
yourself when you talk to her?
Yeah.
He cleared out a day for Freddie when he only needed 5 minutes, and he cleared out like an hour for Mumsy when he really needed a week.
I think when you probably talked to Georgia about it, about talking to your mom, and she would have said that she wanted to go with you.
Oh.
She did not want you to talk to her alone. Or at least, like, I can at least be in the room outside. Your mom, I don't trust her.
None of us do.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like
And
considering
my mom's cursed.
I feel like considering the courtship and stuff, like Niles is not like a "Hey y'all, we're dating, let's put on Facebook" type guy. Like he is like a very like low key,
reserved.
and so I feel like if he were to tell people and make it public, like he told Freddie more because there was that obligation. It's like also, hey, y'all were kind of a thing, but I feel like he wouldn't break it to many people. Honestly, I mean, it'd probably
And
be
by kind of a thing, we mean engaged.
yeah. I feel like you'd be like, hey, also we're engaged now. Like, oh yeah. Like I feel like you'd probably
I have an idea,
okay, go
Okay,
for
good.
if
it.
I may.
Yeah.
Y'all are at dinner at the Worthington house. The curse is broken. Mama Dustin is there. Like, the whole gang's there. And Niles tells a joke, and Georgia just grabs his hand instinctually. And, like, leans, like,
The laughing
Nothing
to
that
someone,
crazy,
yes.
but
I know what
yeah,
you
like
mean.
a little
yeah.
shoulder bump.
I do that to my buddies all the time, yes. Yeah.
But with the handhold and the context, and Niles being, I think, fairly reserved, Mumsy sets her fork down.
Once again, Ephraim just like pauses mid-chew, just like,
And then I said, "That's a squirrel."
What is this, Niles?
I believe pasta Mejon.
Georgia starts to giggle. And then she looks up and makes eye contact with your mother, and her eyes go down again. I have tolerated this fraud being at our table, but I won't tolerate this.
Hey,
Mother, his
Mom?
name is Ephraim.
Mother, mother, if I may,
Georgia giggles
Ephraim
again.
snickers.
if I may, mother, if it helps, I've given them my blessing since, she was the one engaged to me. I think it's a much more my business than your business. So we're chill. We're good.
Freddie. Mama Dustin kind of like wipes her mouth and sets her napkin aside and says, Lady Worthington, if it's that much of a problem, why don't you just leave?
Well, it is her house, to be fair.
It's a big old house.
Now I think
We do have three.
And
We do have three
can
dining
go.
rooms.
We can go if we're not wanted.
I think
I don't want to impose on you, Frederick. If we're causing a problem here, we can go. We can eat somewhere else.
Oh no!
Oh, it's not even a worry.
Oh no! Please. And he kind of sits up, like stands up, and like kind of straightens his clothes. Mother, as I'm sure you've seen now, Georgia and I have been spending some time together, and I feel like you know what that probably. Okay, Mother, this is the woman I love. And he kind of like takes her hand,
There you go.
and if
Freddie just
gives
gives like
him
a
a
very
thumbs up.
satisfied nod. Yes.
if you have issues
Everyone
with that,
likes that.
Right.
and if you have issues with that,
You
you can.
see a bunch of hearts and thumbs up.
Sorry, Sam, we'll
just
let you
floating up
finish.
the screen.
And if you have issues with that, you can take it up with Lord Worthington, who is in fact me. And in terms of who's cost our family more, it's definitely not Georgia. But respectfully,
I look over at Ephraim.
yes, it's several people in this room whose names rhyme with Ephraim, Freddie, and Mumsy.
Mama Dustin kind of pokes Ephraim with her fork, just like real gently, like a little teasing.
Ephraim's like kind of sinks down in his chair. He's like, man, I'd hate to be one of those three.
All that being said, I think it's safe to say Georgia will be part of our family soon. And I kindly recommend that you become accustomed to the idea.
Freddie raises his glass in a toast, and he says, "To family."
Mama Dustin raises
Ephraim.
hers. To family.
Ephraim follows suit. To family.
Prudence Worthington stands up, and she leaves the room.
Ooh.
And I don't think y'all see her again for the rest of the year.
Well, that was easy.
None of the staff sees her.
Ephraim
She's
like
gone.
clinks glass. Ephraim and Freddie like clink glasses after he says that. Sissy.
I think there's a sad element. I mean, they're joking around. I think Niles genuinely wanted her to be okay with it.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he'd be lying if he said that he wasn't expecting that.
There is a relief that comes over the Worthington estate, but a sadness. 'Cause you always
Does Agatha also leave, or is she hanging out with us?
I mean, that's your choice. But I
Well, I didn't know if she left with
Imagine-
Lindsay, or if she just hung out at the manor.
Prudence gets out of her chair and walks out of the room in a huff, and Agatha just quietly comes in and sits down in that same chair and finishes her meal.
Or no, better yet, Agatha's been there the whole time, but the camera's never cut to her the whole time.
Oh yeah,
She's just been
absolutely. Yeah.
gnawing on a chicken leg.
She's been writing it all down.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I think she's skipped town. And you don't see her for the foreseeable future. But a more pleasant dinner. You do have some regular dinners, probably at least bi-weekly, with a young lady. Frederick, you have dinners with a young lady of the Bashmores. If Freddie decides to accept the offer.
Freddie has, I think, 1 or 2 of those dinners. And in the course of them realizes that he very much liked his life before all this started. He will eventually, hopefully, marry for love, but this is not the person. And he doesn't need the immediate bailout of debt right now. He wants to live free and enjoy the community that he's gathered in Pearlsfield.
All right. I think after the
Good
third
for
dinner,
him.
you explain this, I'm guessing, to
Yeah.
the young lady.
Yep.
And she smiles.
Just like, this has been lovely, but...
And she says, "It has been nice to reconnect with you, Frederick. And I would truly wish you the best."
Likewise. I'm sure we'll see each other around the town still, and I hope that this will be the beginnings of a new friendship rekindled.
I do too. I think there are also some meetings with Sir Hiram of the Bashmores, with Ephraim, because even though there's not a marriage happening, she was still here to offer her offer rewards and boons in return for helping handle the Schmezos situation. I think over tea with Sir Hiram, she tells you, or you're discussing the lack of marriage that's been happening, how I believe Ephraim also was not interested in marrying into the Bashmores, correct?
Right. Yeah.
So much not marriage happening.
And she says, "It is a shame. It would be very nice to have you as part of the Bashmore family, but if marrying into our family is not preferred, how would you like to be reinstated as heir of your own household name? We have strings we can pull with the..."
Ephraim sort of stops mid-sip.
"The Hlanvair Pool Gwingil Gogare Urshwin Drubul Landu Celio Gogogosh house. We have some
lowers
hooks
his
that
cup
we
and he's
can
like,
use with
That was a
them.
good attempt.
I appreciate it. My Elvish is rusty. But yes, we can pull some strings with your house. And see about getting you proper membership of your father's family.
Is he dead? Is he gone? What's the deal?
His father died before I
Yeah.
think Ephraim ever really got to know him.
What if,
Yeah.
is it a Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder situation where Ephraim is the heir to a great family fortune, but he has to kill 7 of his relatives who are uppity, and it's a whole nother sideshow. There's a one-man show starring Cam, and click in our description to see it now.
Ephraim he sets his glass down and he's like, "You know what? I think I'll take you up on that." And he extends his hand to Sir Hiram.
Sir Hiram takes his hand.
Oh.
Firm handshake.
And as they shake hands, Ephraim says, And while we're at it, why don't you just consider me on retainer?
If that is what you wish.
A man's got to have something to do to keep from getting bored.
Certainly. Certainly. And she taps the handle of her great sword that's sitting behind her. Or she's sitting down. It's sat beside her. Leaned up against the couch.
Deeply uncomfortable just sitting on top of that
Yeah.
scabbard.
Real
You have to
bad for
sort
your
of
posture.
rotate it.
All right. Okay, so we've covered the Hiram and the Bashmore string and the potential marriage and Mumsy. Let's see what else happens in that year.
Ooh,
So
I think I know the next thing chronologically that would happen next.
Okay.
So with Mumsy gone, the Worthington estate is kind of stabilized even more in that she's not been taking any money out or anything.
It is
But
fully
I
yours
think-
to run right now,
Yeah. But I think, unbeknownst to everybody else, Niles has actually sent out inquiries to find out where his mother is.
Oh yeah, Freddie has also written a letter to her, trying to find her in various places, but I don't think he's heard anything back. So
I think Niles would go so far as like hiring people to find her.
I think what ends up happening is one night while you are discussing this, one summer night, with the windows open and a gentle breeze blowing into your sitting room, suddenly there is a figure in front of the fireplace.
gosh dang
dressed
it.
all
I know
in
exa-
white.
I know what you're doing here.
With gold taloned gloves.
Gosh dang it. Whose room is this?
This is the Worthington estate,
Okay, just in the house.
standing in front
Who
of.
walks in on that?
Y'all are in this room, and she has appeared.
Oh, we're already here.
Yeah.
She just
You had
poofed
open
in.
windows,
Okay.
so you can guess she probably came in through a window while you weren't looking.
I kind of look over to Niles.
Hello!
Nope. Okay, I'll do that. I've dealt with her before.
Because
What's
Niles
up?
has
What's
never
up,
had a
Dove?
conversation with this person.
I know. Yeah.
And
Hi,
he's
Dove.
not privy to any of the things that happened with the dove.
Last I checked, we were all
Hey,
settled up.
bro.
Freddie, you are completely settled. Your debt is paid.
Yes. I've never
What?
seen you for anything else.
No. You haven't, but...
Also, this isn't the cave.
Oh, I know it's very off-brand, but, I thought it was about time. Hold on. She reaches down, and she pulls off her cowl. And you see blonde hair and long elvish ears. You don't recognize this woman, but she sure looks familiar.
Wow, somebody I've never seen before.
Niles is just behind them all with like the 3 dots appearing over his head, just like,
Yeah. What's happening?
Your mother has a second sister, and that's me. I'm your aunt.
Well, this explains a lot, actually. Good to meet you. What can I call you besides the dove?
You can call me Aunt Darla.
Aunt Darla. All right. Well, I might prefer the dove, but this is your nephew Niles, who I'm sure you're aware of.
This is not a great way to meet. I've
I can
not
think of
been a
worse
great
ways.
person, and your mother didn't want me involved in your lives. But she did want
To be
me
fair-
involved in the family bank account, and she's been siphoning money from the house for years. And she's gone
That
now.
can
She
make
took the money and
that
she
can make a
left.
couple of us.
Yeah.
ah.
Yeah. Niles, this is the person who was helping me bail out the cheese mine investments.
I've been
Thank you.
doing some investing for you, and I do have some return on investment as an apology.
Oh, well, that's wonderful news.
I know.
You don't-
I
Need to apologize with money, though. Maybe we'll take it. Don't get me wrong, but we're. I'm just saying, family is family, and we're all disasters. So you're always welcome.
She kind of awkwardly is fiddling with the cowl. Like the dove has always looked very smooth.
Oh
and
yes,
suave, and
the smoothest.
like she doesn't know what to do with her feet. Like she looks just.
Ironically,
unsure.
she's standing pigeon-toed.
Do you want to sit, or is this more of a pop in, pop out situation?
I can't.
You can have tea. We have tea.
Kind of awkwardly sits down. I'd love tea. And I think
And he kind of calls for the what is this? What did we say the the orc.
I don't remember his name.
We have a lot. We have a decent amount of staff.
Was it
so-
Wadsworth? It was something like that.
I think it's
I
also
don't know.
late though, so I think y'all have brewed your own.
That's true.
tea
They're probably home. Yeah. I'll tell you. I'll go work on that. You chat here with Neff.
I have a funnier idea that
Perfect,
could close
please
out
do.
the scene. You guys sit, and you're just like the tea will be here in just a second, and then Aunt Agatha walks in holding the
Yes!
teapot
Oh, gosh.
and sees her long lost sister and just like drops the
Yes, I love
entire
this.
tea set. It just smashes on the ground.
Agatha. And we cut from there.
Oh man.
And scene.
So you find out your mother, she had been stealing money from the Worthingtons for a while, and
Cool.
apparently doesn't seem to have much intention of being found or coming back.
So my debts weren't all my fault.
You also receive, a little bit of money back.
Cheese mine investment. Wait, no, not the cheese mines.
The old reverse cheese mine wager.
With the whole dungeon situation, are the adventurers still in town?
I think they've wrapped up, they've been doing actually dungeon delving, actually exploring the dungeon.
So do I get any investment back on that? Or
You do get some. They do bring you some
Okay.
gold and jewels. The artifacts, I don't remember what I said before, but what I'm saying
Who knows?
now
It's all good.
is that
Yeah,
the
yeah.
artifacts are what the crown, the monarchy really wants.
Okay, yes, makes
so
sense.
those are going back to the capital with
Cool.
Thilka.
I was actually going to bring up the adventuring party next, because I think the next thing that Ephraim would do is because he, with Vlad just vanishing
Yeah.
and not coming back, Ephraim has lost like the little bit of magical boost that he had from his contract with Vlad. So while the adventuring party are in town and digging through a literal wizard's tower, I think Ephraim is sort of like interning with them and just sort of learning just sort of learning what little bit of magic he can from Thelka and Vengeance.
I dig it.
He's just like, oh, so that's how you do this. So he's going from a warlock to a wizard.
Yes. Thelka is a very enthusiastic teacher, and is very happy to show you the ropes.
Call that good in exchange for the windows.
Sculpt snake, you say?
Yes, it's one I picked up on a different country. A different country in this world. Yep.
Yep. Mhm. That's where people go.
But if you practice your cantrips, keep studying your spells, you'll be able to take the entrance exam for the wizard school, and I'm sure you'll pass with flying colors, Ephraim.
You know what? I really appreciate you for teaching me all of this. My last teacher was kind of difficult.
She pats you on the shoulder. My last wizard teacher was a dragon. Anyway.
Anywho.
You don't say.
Oh yes, she was amazing. And you continue deeper into the dungeon, where suddenly there's a
Just
bang
like-
further down the tunnel.
Right.
Something blows up.
Yeah, you just hear the bard yelp off in the distance.
I have nothing else before the wedding, so I'm good for
Yeah,
the
that was the
wedding.
last thing on my
Yeah.
to-do
Let's
list.
see, was that the last thing I had on my to-do list? Was the adventurers? I think so.
I feel like I want to go back to Father Phineas.
Oh yes,
yes.
I don't think. Yeah, what happens with Father Phineas? Do we think he lives to see the wedding?
Oh
'Cause I
yeah,
think
he's
his
got to
health
see
has
the
been
wedding.
declining. What do you think, Sam?
He's got to see the wedding.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. He lives to see the wedding. I think he's kind of like holding out for that, honestly. But on one day, they're kind of like his mobility is really like limited. So
It wasn't great before.
It wasn't great before, but now it's like he can't even huddle around. Like
Yeah,
he
he's
kind of has to be like
wheelchair bound.
yeah, and he's like, Niles will kind of take him outside, and it's almost like It's like just like let him have his quiet time outside and just like monitor at a distance. And I feel like Georgia is often like kind of there sitting with him.
I think it's actually Mama Dustson.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think over the summer, she spends a lot of time with y'all, and maybe at first you're feeling kind of like a third or fourth wheel, but actually she's really nice and really chill to talk to, and she'll often sit
She's the
and
Miss
chat.
Vicky of this universe.
Yes.
She
She is the
That's
best
what
mom friend mom.
That's what
She's
else
my
I was
legal
going to
guardian.
say is that Ephraim has moved his mother and the younger siblings into his home
Oh,
in
nice.
Pearlsfield.
Speaking of homes, before I forget, Schmezos, what happened with
gosh.
him? He's been taken into royal custody. There's a lot of trials
Suck
and
it.
court stuff going on, but the cottage that he was in the process of buying, his funds have been frozen, so it couldn't be paid for. So the property has been returned to the Worthingtons.
Nice.
I feel like there like paperwork needed to be done at the cottage to officially like hand it back to the Worthingtons, and it's like Freddie and Niles there, and Niles just goes, "Well, do we throw Aunt Agatha back in here, or what do we do with all this space?"
We could always turn it into something for the community.
Oh, I like.
How many orphans are in Pearlsfield?
I feel like there's not a whole lot of orphans.
That's good. Let's just make it a little like stop along the road home, free lodging for anyone who needs it, pop on in kind of thing.
I think when you think about it, Freddie, you think people could use some free food.
I like this.
Sometimes harvests are rough,
Soup
especially
kitchen.
when so much is dedicated to the pearly cotton. Soup kitchen.
Soup kitchen.
And I think Niles just kind of pats him on the back and says, "Well, I will leave that to you."
No problem. I make a good soup.
And kind of pops a little thing out of his pocket and just says, "I have a wedding." He kind of
That you do.
turns on a heel and kind of walks out the door.
I think over the summer, as the soup kitchen develops, you, Freddie, end up getting a lot of help from Georgia as well.
Nice.
And other folks in the community. I think you and Georgia are able to, it's a little awkward at first, but strike up your own
Oh yeah, for sure.
friendship through working at this soup kitchen together.
Managed to successfully pivot to a sibling-in-law relationship.
Yes.
Hey. You love to see it. Let's see. So as the summer goes by, days are spent at the soup kitchen. Nights are spent talking,
Partying.
partying, or talking in front of Ephraim's empty fireplace and the portrait over the mantle, which before had these two very like they had the bases of their faces kind of painted, but they looked very vague. And they've been filled
Kind
in
of
now.
impressionistic.
It's been finished now. Like the details
like it.
hadn't been put in yet of the facial features, and we see a young Georgia and Ephraim painted standing together, and we see I think probably some new portraits. Would you say, Cam?
Yeah, there's definitely like new portraits of like the family as they are now.
Of the raccoon.
Yeah, there's just a portrait of the raccoon, like
It's one of those little ones.
hold-
It's on top of the
yeah,
mantle.
yeah, it's like one of those little oval portraits.
Love that.
Paintings of the beginnings of a painting of Niles and Georgia. It's like it's been started, and they're still having like, afternoons dedicated to like 1 or 2 hours of just the painter is working on it a little bit more. There's paintings of the two younger siblings, and there's paintings of all of them together.
When does Niles propose?
And how and where.
Yeah, really, the questions we're all waiting for.
Is it in the fall? Fall is really nice.
He just flicks the ring in her general direction and says, "You up?" No. I think it's probably late summer. Because it's not a surprise. Because as all good proposals are, like they are a surprise in the moment, but not in theory ever. good tip for anybody hoping to
Talk
propose.
about
Yep,
if you
yep,
want
yep.
to get
Have
married
those
and if you're
conversations.
ready.
Yes, do not just pop it. Like, it's a surprise in that they
Yeah.
don't know when exactly where, but they know that it is coming. And
My
she was
wife
definitely
literally knew the day, but not how.
yeah.
Same.
I remember that day because I think Taylor was there, or Taylor knew about it. She
She knew about
in
it
the
for
link.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it was one of those things where Niles kind of knew as soon as it started that they were going to get married. Like, it was, and that might have been overconfidence on his part, but it was kind of just something he assumed. He kind of got the ring ordered as soon as he could. But
He
I
bought
think-
it while they were in the Capitol.
I think it's nothing fancy because the ring is probably pretty. It's one of the things you would actually splurge on. But like the proposal is not anything super over the top. I think it's one of those things where they were going on a walk on kind of a nice, cool summer afternoon, or summer late afternoon.
It's golden hour.
And yeah, golden
perfect.
hour, and
That's
they were
where
kind
like
of
to
like
walk.
laying by a tree, and she kind of had her head on his shoulders, and like their hands were together, and he just kind of slipped the ring on. And it's kind of like it's just kind of like a silent, not a silent scene, but like no words are really needed, something
Yeah.
like that.
As you're looking
That sounds
out
nice.
across the fields down at Pearlsfield in the valley below, Niles pulls the ring from his pocket, and the light catches it and sparkles in the band. And you hear like a sharp intake of breath from Georgia. And Niles just gently slips it on her finger. And she reaches down and plucks a summer wildflower and takes Niles' hand and wraps a little wildflower band around his finger.
Oh, what's the flower? What's the flower that it's a clover flower.
Clover, yeah,
He-
yeah.
Yeah, he definitely has like a clover flower and like puts it in her hair too. Like they're kind of sitting near a bunch of clover flowers.
Yeah.
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 Everybody likes
Oh,
that.
Everybody
Twoo
likes
love.
it. So when is the wedding?
5 minutes later.
I think it's probably like when did he probably did it to the day. So when did they fight Bezos? Schmezos.
It was like just a bit kind of in the middle of spring.
Middle of spring. So yeah.
It's a long engagement.
Oh yeah, dang it is.
Did
I feel like they would probably, because they had already like 75% planned Freddie and Georgiana's wedding, that they would like just
Just kind of
use like
tack
a
on
bunch
to
of the
yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
We have all this stuff paid for.
I feel like I don't know, man.
I feel like for the time, a lot of stuff was just stuff they already had, and then there were like
Yeah.
Mumsy was buying flowers and got to get her a special dress, and a lot of those things fell through. Or just
Yeah,
kind
I'm gonna
of
say,
like
like,
the
it's-
money went to waste.
Right.
like it would be elegant but not, I guess, over the top. I feel like the OG wedding was like super over the top and like
Yeah.
a little bit too mumsified, whereas this one is very tasteful.
That makes sense too.
But like I don't know, like if you're a fan and you've gotten engaged to somebody who was planning their wedding and broke it off, did you use their wedding materials? Or did you ask about it, and how did that go?
To be fair, that feels like a Niles thing to do.
He would totally ask about it. I don't think Georgia would be for it at all.
I mean, I think they use like the Worthington family china. They're not buying.
Oh, yeah.
Or using a whole lot of stuff that was going to be used.
Oh yeah, but I feel like that's, I don't know. I like, yeah, the stuff that's just like any wedding that the Worthingtons are going to have, they're going to use these materials. Like, yeah, they would use those, but like the special ordered bouquets, we'll probably order new ones.
Yeah,
We'll
it's
probably,
gonna be different flowers, because I think it's clover flowers.
Yeah,
For sure.
I think he definitely has her. He splurges on a new dress, just kind of like has her design her own.
I don't think he has to because she wears her mother's dress.
Aww. Is it the hag one? It's just.
It's a very simple dress, but it is very
Is it
lovely.
the hag one?
And it is not the hag one. It is not the widow's veils that she wore to try to cover up all the rotting flesh she had.
It's kind of stinky.
It was kind of stinky. And when she walks into the chapel, I think Ephraim is escorting her.
Aww.
Yeah, he would definitely be the one to give her away.
What would it sound like? I feel like, again, father, not doing great, but he kind of makes it up there to actually perform the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we just full on carry him up and then just sit him in a special chair that he had set up there.
Yeah.
The ring bearer comes up and you
The
take
ring
the
bearer is
rings
the
off.
raccoon.
Yeah, it's
You
the
take
raccoon.
you take the rings off of the pillow and then set Father Phineas on
Yes.
the pillow.
Cute. And I think...
Who's in your wedding party, Niles?
Yeah.
Oh. Like Freddy.
Yeah,
Oh,
Freddy's
brother
the best
bro.
man.
Brother Bro is in there as well.
Who's in
Yeah, Brother
jorts
Bro the
and
Minotaur.
crying profusely.
Absolutely. And
Those are his formal jorts.
Formal.
his formal jorts. I think that's it. Niles is not it.
Yeah?
I had 9 groomsmen. Niles definitely doesn't. Definitely
That's so
not
many
that.
groomsmen.
It was awesome. We did a whole Fellowship of the Ring thing going on. It was
Oh,
awesome.
that's so fun. I think Georgia has Tiana Leapfrog, who's been spending a lot of time in Pearlsfield. I think she's also been helping out at the soup kitchen, as well as taking regular trips to the capital to visit a certain someone in jail.
Oh, that's still a thing.
Her and Georgia have been
She's
talking
not going to let him
about
off that
it,
easily.
as well as... Sure, we're gonna go with Penny Nickelback,
Yeah, I was going to
There we
say
go.
at least one of the Nickelbacks should be up there.
who did in
What is-
fact
what-
get married to Mr. McPherson.
Oh, man.
Mr. McPherson
Aw.
is a free man after a lot of time discussing his lycanthropy with the head of the constabulary, who was very understanding and was like, "Look at me, I'm a lion man. Have you caused
Just look
any
at me."
issues before this?" No.
What does her dress
Look
look
at me,
like?
I'm a lion.
I think it is a very simple. I think it's called. What is it? An A-waist?
Bro, that was 2.5 years ago.
Hey.
I don't remember anything about wedding planning.
It has a fairly snug bodice and then a flowing skirt with only a little bit of a drag to it, not much of a train. With some lace on the sleeve at the end of these long, snug sleeves, and a high neck that also has lace about halfway up her neck, and a beautiful veil that's full of clover flowers.
Aw.
Yeah. And in the presence of their friends and family, with Father Phineas doing the honors, Georgia and Niles are wed.
Yeah.
Yay!
So is she now Lady Worthington?
I
guess she's now
so.
the official Lady Worthington.
Yeah, she's
So-
the new Lady Worthington.
The one, the only.
The one, the only. In the years to come, as we've wrapped up this last year of our story, do we have any thoughts about what happens with our fellas in the years to come? Or
I really
Leave that
like.
to the
I think that's what Freddy was. I think we did all Freddy's thing. He kind of becomes a better version of his old self.
Yeah, Freddy's the town's generous party animal.
Yeah, I think he realized that on the crest of the hill when everyone in town was there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is everyone I've ever gotten to know
Yeah.
here."
He's a man for the people.
and I think he only becomes more beloved in the town of Pearlsfield.
Hopefully. As long as he doesn't become a disaster, we're good. Yeah.
I think as he gives more of his time to the people of Pearlsfield, they give him more of their minds, and he picks up some wisdom from some of the older folks in town and becomes a wiser man.
Yeah, I think his socializing becomes less for himself and more because he starts taking an interest in actually those around him. So.
I think, would he want the title of Lord?
No.
I feel like not. No? Okay.
Responsibility.
The less responsibility, the better.
Ephraim eventually goes off to the capital, I imagine, and ends up at wizard school. Yeah?
Yeah, he's sort of... I feel like he wouldn't want to go all the way, like, to wizard school, but he's got enough magic to, he's able to keep Radigan around, he's able to keep his familiar, and he's just got, like, a few little tricks and illusions up his sleeve. What I do think he would do is make a trip to the elf capital to reclaim his sort of birthright status.
Love that.
And while he's there, negotiate trade of pearly cotton to some of the elf capital's most famous enchanters and weavers. Because let's face it, elves are super good at two things: crafts and magic.
Yeah, and
hair care.
You have a thought, Sam?
Okay, I think I want to end Vlad's story. I'm gonna need Cam's help.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
So Vlad is like crawling.
Here, I
he's
thought
still
he
like
was done.
in bat form, like with a cloak over him, like he's just like shuffling through the forest and eventually onto a beach, and kind of like eventually gets to the water and starts drinking the water. Then realizes, oh wait, I'm a vampire. That doesn't slake my thirst, and starts like coughing it up. And while he's kind of like flimsing around on the beach under the moonlight, like a really fancy leather boot lands right near him, and a shadowy figure, like in a long, elegant shadow, is cast over Vlad, and a single hook reaches down to the vampire. And what does it say, Cam?
Oh, hi, man. You shouldn't drink seawater like that. That's bad for you.
I said a hook!
I like
Yeah, he's
this
holding a hook
better.
down.
It's just Jim with a hook.
And it's a shepherd's crook.
Yeah.
I was doing like a League of Villains thing, but that works too.
Not anymore.
It's time for his redemption arc.
Oh no.
It's at first it
man.
looks like a hook in the shadow, and Vlad is like, weakened, and in his bat form, he like sees the shadow of a hook descending on him. He's like, oh no. And then Jim just comes out of the shadows with his little patchwork red hat. And it's like, hey, that's a nice cloak you got there.
Amazing. Sam?
Vlad just, we see like a camera just whip zoom out, and we just hear Vlad go, no!
No, it is not true. No. I think I know the scene I want to end with. I don't think there's anything more after. Is that okay, Rebecca? Unless you have something.
I have a little narrative blurb I might end us with. Let's see how this goes.
All right, sweet. So I feel like after a few months after the wedding, Father Phineas finally starts to really go downhill. He's
deteriorating.
legitimately bedridden. Yeah. And I think on one you said it was spring. So one late spring evening, he kind of just holding Niles' hand and the raccoon's hand, kind of just dissipates, and he kind of goes like Yoda, where his body just disappears, leaving like a little hat there and a little blue robe.
That's weird.
It's weird, but it's a magic thing. It's a magic gnome thing.
He returns to the author.
Oh yeah, and I feel like a day or two later, there's like a little. I don't know what they probably bury his belongings. They don't bury. There's no body to bury, so they bury his belongings. It's like a sad but okay funeral. Like, he was old. It wasn't like there was any tragedy. It was sad, but it wasn't tragic. And there was a lot of good memories of Father Phineas. And with that, Niles gets the whole parsonage. And so I feel like he spends a little bit of time both at the parsonage and at the Worthington estate. But a lot of the Worthington estate has kind of been converted into a hospital, and he kind of lives in kind of a small compartment, like an apartment part of it with Georgia.
I like that.
But anyway, post the funeral, everyone's kind of meandering away, and Niles kind of sitting on the bench with Georgia, kind of like with his arm wrapped around her, a little bit teary-eyed. And I think like he puts his hand on like her stomach, and there's like a little baby bump.
Yeah.
And the camera just kind of pans out.
Yes.
As we look over the tombstones.
I'm literally tearing up over here.
The tombstones of the chapel burial ground, with fresh flowers left by Mama Dustson, who's been caring for the cemetery, the graveyard, ever since she arrived. And we look at the town of Pearlsfield, with its thatched roofs, and its brick buildings. Pearlsfield. And its dungeon, now bereft of treasure. What is treasure? Some define it as gold and jewels, unearthed from chests deep in the bowels of a dungeon. Others would describe it as ancient mystical artifacts, procured at risk of life and limb. But to the people of Pearlsfield, treasure is something far less simple than metal and stone. Treasure is the warmth in your belly that only comes from a meal shared with friends. It is the cool peace that washes over you after staying up far too late, deep in conversation. It is the joy that fills your chest like butterflies when you empty your pockets for someone else's good. Their treasure is something that cannot be measured on a scale or bought and sold with 1,000 fields full of pearls. It is without price and beyond worth. The treasure of Pearlsfield is love. The end.
I'm literally tearing up over here. I'm not okay.
Hey everybody, Cam here. Thanks for listening to Minions and Misfits. If you like what you heard, don't forget to check out our socials. The links are down in the description. And please, leave us a review on whatever app you use to listen to your podcast. It'll help us reach more people who can enjoy the episode that you just listened to. See you next time.